All right, here's another example of how I differentiate in my classroom. This is something I did just earlier in the semester. Last discussion I showed a tiered project where I had them, pick and choose options where they were kind of weighted and based on, it was a bigger project, but it was, based on Bloom's taxonomy, uh, based on the Gardner's multiple intelligence theory. This one it's a little bit smaller of an assignment in a sense where I don't give them quite as many options, but this is something to so say. The assignment I call it just because once again you're dealing with ninth graders, so you try to kind of relate to them and make them think it's funny. So I just have a "You Mad Bro" assignment is what I call that. Because it's really, really what this is about. Because we just got done learning about how the Germans are furious with the Treaty of Versailles, the treaty that ended World War II, because they basically just get blamed for everything. Their economy gets gutted. Their country is kind of left in shambles. And really, the treaty was meant to create chaos in Germany, and it did. And it's going to make the Germans mad, and it's going to obviously tie that into the rise of Adolf Hitler. And so this is where I give them. So we just get done learning about this, and so a lot of things are going on in Germany at the time. Treaty of Versailles gets signed. The French have gone in and taken over a territory where they took over the factories. That was in the industrial rich area of the Ruhr Valley in Germany. Because the Germans couldn't make financial payments because of the harsh reparations for the war. Basically, they had to pay for all the damages done in World War One. They had to take full blame for the war, even though it was Austria-Hungary that started it. And they had hyperinflation. If you don't know anything about hyperinflation, just a side note, that's a super interesting topic. The kids it's hard for the kids to even wrap their mind around. Like, hey, loaf of bread back in Germany, $4.3 trillion for a loaf of bread. Like, no, that's not true. It is. It is. It's weird. Anyway, obviously they use the mark. So basically, the assignment I give them to do this is they say, all right, you're ticked off at the government. You're mad that they signed the Treaty of Versailles. You're mad that they're allowing the Ruhr Valley. You're mad they just printed off money, so the money basically had no value, which is why it cost 4.3 trillion marks to equal a loaf of bread. And so what you're going to do is you're going to create. I said you could create picketing posters, right, toward the German government. So, and you're going to do it about all three of them. All right, so you're gonna create a picketing poster. You're mad about the treaty, about the Ruhr Valley invasion, and that's really going to be more mad at France, but and the hyperinflation. All right, so though you're going to have three separate posters where you're going to have some kind of an image displaying. Now, you could either make it a picketing thing where, because I had some kids make slogans, and I had some say, well, can we just draw why we're mad? And I also let that happen as well. And so they just drew what each event was, and then they explained what their event was in a file. I said you could create a pamphlet, basically like you're going to pass it out, like, hey, these are the changes we need to make because of why, and then they need to explain within that pamphlet. You need to explain the Treaty of Versailles, why that was bad, why the Ruhr Valley and hyperinflation. Or you can go to Twitter if Twitter existed during the time and just do what most people do during this time and kind of blast the German government because you're upset with the fact that all this stuff happened, and and then you can explain why. And then the fake Twitter, if you guys have never used it, some more is very good, but if you've never used the fake Twitter, it just looks like this. It's classtools.net. And it's cool. You can use this in a lot of classes. It has a lot of preloaded things, so like the kids can tweet as like they can tweet as Adolf Hitler. They can make up a goofy username as long as the real name's spelled the same. Kids usually can get pretty creative with this stuff, where you can say like I'm mad, blah blah blah, and they can come up with an accurate date. But you can see like it'll create a tweet uh, with his background if they spell the name right and all that stuff. So it's kind of a cool site for the kids to use. It's not actually Twitter, but it's something that they can use and enjoy, and they can put emojis in there, and they can be goofy and silly and all that stuff. So that's an example just to differentiate based on, you know, like what they want to do. If they want to be artistic, they can do that. If they want to be, um, if they want to be more expressive, if they want to work together, I let that be an option, especially on the poster. The tweets, and I didn't, because I was like, I don't really know what two people could do on that. But it just depends. And then some of the other things I do like to differentiate for like content. This is a topic that I'm currently in. So I fill out the notes. I talked about Edpuzzle last time, where as well, where I'll post a video. I'll have students. I'll be able to tell which students do well. Now you can see like some of these students, it'll say watched and then the grade because I have questions posted within. Now I basically said anybody that got less than, I only have 9 questions within the video. But basically any student that did that basically had less than a 6 out of 9, I restarted. So all these students here, obviously I'm hiding their names, but all these students here, I restarted their video. And I probably had about 3 or 4 more that have gone back and watched it. Some of them haven't done it yet. This was only except a couple days ago that I restarted it, so I got to get them back on it. But yeah, I'll make sure that they go back and rewatch this video because they missed some stuff that was crucial. So it's a way for me to be able to be like, hey, you're not ready yet. We got to get you to watch the next thing, which is going to be the reason why I haven't. Most of the time, I'll have them use class time before they move on. But you know, so in the video, we talk about like issue like in the Cold War, we talk about things like the Berlin blockade. So here's a way to differentiate the instruction based on the the content. So they have video notes. They fill out the notes where they write about the notes, what's going on there, and then I have them explore. This is a Berlin blockade possibility. So this is the Berlin blockade. Basically, here's the first major confrontation. I don't know. Let me pause this real quick. Right, so I like to do these in history. This is a Berlin blockade possibilities where the students, basically the Soviet Union has cut off supplies to Berlin because Germany after World War II is divided, and the Soviet Union, Berlin is divided in the same way into these 4 sections. But Berlin is deep in Soviet territory. The Soviets want the U.S. out of their territory. They want to have all of Berlin, so they basically cut it off from supplies. They turn off the water. They shut off the power, and they say these 2.5 million people we're going to are going to die if you don't get out of Berlin. And so the United States has just made the Truman Doctrine where it said, hey, it's our job to help anybody that wants to resist communist takeover. So we go through all these scenarios. I have the students and partners just kind of work with, what should we do? Here's the pros and cons. Here's some possible solutions. If you want, you can come up with your own. And then I have them do a pros and cons list as to why it's a good idea to do this. Like so these are people that are throwing ideas out. You're the president of the United States. These are ideas that are thrown to you. What's a positive? What's a negative? To handle this situation with the Soviet Union. Well, it's like a pro. Invade East Germany. Yeah, pro. We could get to West Berlin and we could feed people a con. Well, World War III is probably going to start with the Soviet Union. That's not great. We don't want that to happen. All right, and so basically the students have to go through and kind of think like what would be the reaction if I did this, what wouldn't be, but it's a way to differentiate instead of just like getting notes and doing something. It's a way to have them really explore and dive into the scenario, what's going on in Berlin and how they would handle it if they were the president of the United States, and thinking of the positives and the negatives of that situation. And then after they go through and they make their pros and cons list, then I have them do the Berlin blockade discussion, where basically they have to say, hey, this is what I would do. They have to say, this is what I would do if I was the president of the United States. Here's why I disagree with what you said, and then they have to defend their position. All right, so I make a discussion. I make them discuss what they would do. They have to disagree with one of their students respectfully, of course, and then they have to get back and defend their position. All right, so we do this in class where it's basically a silent discussion where everybody gives everybody a voice, but once again, it's getting them to think about the event in more more than just delivering, instead of just delivering the content saying, hey, this happened, here you go. Well, now they're getting more engaged with the event because now they have to think, well, what would I do if I was in that situation, and how would I handle it? And it's a way to, like I said, it's a way to differentiate and get them to be more engaged and to get them to be more locked into the material. Right. So those are two examples of how I differentiate based on the product, but I also differentiate in the process, how I can differentiate in the process. By having students repeat Edpuzzles, by having students, extending things, doing little simulations like this in history, where you get students to try to put themselves in historical figure shoes and then try to figure out what's the best course of action to take. So those are some options that I like.